in the council chambers. Okay, today is Monday, September the 21st, 2020. The time is now 5 p.m. The go-to work session meeting and the special meeting for the City of Trinidad will now come to order. The special meeting will follow the regular work session. So we have some items for the work session tonight. Item number 1, we have Rick Wallner, for Board President of the Canyons and Plains Southeast Colorado Regional Heritage Task Force. And we have item number 2, Michelle Gardner from the Colorado Neighborhoods Coalition on the redistricting. Item 3 is the review of Space Create Commons Oversight Business Development Plan. And of course, item 4 is if there are any other agenda items that we'll be bringing up for the future. So starting off, we will go to Rick Wallner, the Board President of the Canyons and Plains Southeast Colorado Regional Heritage Task Force. Mr. Wallner, if you want to go ahead and take the floor and give us your presentation.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to the Trinidad City Council and others that are joining this call right now. Audra had said that I could share my screen with the group, so if she could set me up for that, I do have some slides that will talk a little bit about my organization. So, we'll check and see if everybody is seeing that.
I like the hat.
That's my previous incarnation as that's old Ford National Historic Site. So, the board, when they asked me to go around to various local governments and speak about Canyon Plains and what we've done in the past and what we're up to now, said I should start by introducing myself to make sure people know that I'm not a carpetbagger from New York or Los Angeles or Denver for that matter. I am from Southern Colorado. I'm from Canyon City. Went to CSU up at Fort Collins. After my master's, I had a 33-year career as a National Park Service Ranger and worked through my career at a whole bunch of different parks, but finally made my way back to Southern Colorado and served as the chief ranger for 17 weeks before I retired. And my wife and I raised 2 girls here in La Junta. So I'm well acquainted with Southern Colorado, Southeastern Colorado, going into Canyon City. I mean, many trips to Trinidad and other places, playing basketball and baseball and things like that in high school. So anyway, I want to spend some time. I just wanted to make local governments around the area aware of the Canyons and Plains organization because the Colorado Tourism Office, in establishing their travel regions, has included Trinidad now in the Canyons and Plains region. So the group that I'm now serving as president of, Canyons and Plains Regional Heritage Task Force, actually formed in 2003 and were set up to serve the counties here in southeast Colorado. And even in the original incarnation, we did cover at least the eastern side of Los Angeles County because we always had Kim under our purview and folks out in Kim. We had regional meetings down in Kim and things like that. Again, with the new groupings under the Colorado Tourism Office, now their Canyons and Plains region stretches over to Trinidad. So I wanted to be sure to introduce our group to Trinidad. So we've been around for a long time, since 2003. And over that time, we have, get my slides to advance here. During that time, we've been able to build various projects around southeast Colorado, and our overall background is to really promote visitation to the unique heritage sites here in southeast Colorado, and help to develop those sites for visitors, and invite people down here, market them, promote them, and bring more visitors into our area, and bring some economic payback for that. Just to let you know, our board of directors, there's a list of those. We have a representative from each of the counties, except for Crowley County right now, which is vacant. And you might notice Los Animas County that Marty Hackett is the board member from Los Animas County. So if you ever need to get in touch with Financial Plains or talk to somebody locally about it, Marty's your go-to person down there in Los Animas County. So some of the things we've done in the past, some of our past projects, we did tear-off maps that were distributed throughout southeast Colorado, given to the dining establishments, lodging, the Colorado Welcome Centers, things like that. And our tear-off maps highlight some of the great things here in southeast Colorado. You can see our map does extend to Trinidad, but at that point we didn't have Trinidad really as part of our organization as such. So one of the things we want to work on is doing a new tear-off map and some great, getting some of the sites in Trinidad listed, and things like the Lardner Massacre Monument, things like that, and getting Trinidad more involved. So that's one of the reasons I'm happy to get Trinidad more involved. We also developed a series of public service announcements. These were little 2-minute movies about various heritage sites in southeast Colorado, and these were actually shown at historic theaters around southeast Colorado. One of the little mini movies was actually about those historic theaters. So the theater audiences showed them before their future attractions, to just let people know about things in their very own backyard. They also, this was also put together and shown on Rocky Mountain PBS, and we have a lot of schools that use this. We have it available on a CD, or excuse me, a DVD, and it's been used in education as well. So that was another one of our projects. We put up a bunch of informative wayside panels all around southeast Colorado. Up through gateway communities throughout the southeast, and then we worked with towns throughout southeast Colorado, and put up wayside panels with information about the communities in about 16 different towns in southeast Colorado. So that was, we worked with the Colorado Department of Transportation on this one, and got all those panels up to help visitors find their way around. And in terms of visitors, in 2015, we conducted an economic impact study of heritage tourism here in southeast Colorado. And we worked with Washington State University in doing that study. Found out a lot of information about where people were coming from, what they were spending their money on, things like that. And found out over $8 million of economic impact from visitors coming into southeast Colorado. And again, if anybody wants a copy of that, we have that available electronically. So now some of the things we're working on now that I took over as president in January, and actually had one meeting in February before the pandemic really hit. So it's been a different sort of world since then. But we continue to move forward and work on things. And the big things we're working on with the Colorado Tourism Office is this niche rollout plan. And we had a meeting in February here in La Junta that we invited folks to start work on this plan. And in that meeting, it was decided that cultural history buffs would be a really good target audience for southeast Colorado because of all our great heritage sites. Then in July, we held a virtual meeting to further sort of drill down in stories that we can tell here in Southeast Colorado. And we actually came up with a list of about 40 stories that could use to attract heritage travelers, history buffs here. Right now, we've talked, Marty's been in on these conversations, we've talked with Colorado Tourism Office for the first couple stories to hit, we'll do the Santa Fe Trail. For a couple of reasons. Number one, the Santa Fe Trail is a unifying item, a unifying theme all across Southeast Colorado, coming all the way from the border and Holly and Grenada, all the way through Navarre, La Junta, and down through Trinidad and over Raton Pass. So, and the second thing is because next year, as you're probably aware, is the bicentennial of the Santa Fe Trail. And I know you guys in Trinidad are planning doings for that, as are we up here in La Junta. So that's our first story. The other story we want to talk about is agriculture, ranching and farming as a big one for Southeast Colorado. And obviously, again, that's something that really ties together the whole region. Ranching and farming taking place all across the Southeast. So we'll be working with the Colorado Tourism Office on that, and we've begun actually working also with Eastern Colorado in developing those stories, because they've already done a lot of work on that. So I mentioned the Santa Fe Trail, another big project, current project for Canyons and Plains is the management for the Santa Fe Trail Scenic and Historic Byway. That had been managed for many years out of Trinidad with Red On down Ray. She has stepped aside from that, and we have now, Canyons and Plains has now become the management entity for the byway. So currently we're working on an update to the byway's corridor management plan, and looking to integrate those with other current CDOT plans and Colorado Tourism Office plans to continue to develop the byway as a real attraction here in Southeast Colorado. And I mentioned the Santa Fe Trail Bicentennial coming up next year. We'll be hosting a Bicentennial Symposium here in La Junta. It'll be hosted by Cherry Junior College, the city of La Junta, that's our fourth National Historic Site, September 22nd through 26th, 2021. And then immediately after that, you'll have your event down in Trinidad. So hopefully folks will just move down the trail from La Junta down to Trinidad, and we'll both have great celebrations of the bicentennial of the Santa Fe Trail. We're also working very hard with Colorado Tourism Office on website development. There is a Canyons and Plains page on Colorado.com. The Colorado Tourism Office's main landing page for people who are planning trips to Colorado. And really want to expand that with a lot more information, a lot more resources, a lot more images. Which is one of the places folks down in Trinidad can help us. Canyons and Plains, as it originally existed, has a photo library, but that photo library from the original group did not extend down to Trinidad. So we really need to get a lot of great images of Trinidad in that area. And I know Marty says she'll be able to work on that. So again, if any of you have any great images or other sources for great images for the Trinidad area, that would be terrific for us to use as we develop content on that website in coordination with the Colorado Tourism Office. Overall, just kind of in conclusion, tourism, heritage tourism, bringing cultural history buffs here equals economic development. And in the niche rollout plan that the Colorado Tourism Office developed for Canyons and Plains, it pegged the annual spending at $9.1 million for visitors in the Canyons and Plains region. And it's not just economic development, it's also an issue of quality of life. As we get businesses that cater to tourists, whether they're restaurants, whether they're tour outfits or bike rental companies or whatever, you know, it also improves the quality of life for people that live here, so it makes it a more pleasant place to live. And so, through the work we're doing at Kansas Beans, we hope to help do that, help both economically, but also with quality of life issues here for Southeast Colorado. I'd like to thank you again very much for allowing me to introduce yourselves just quickly. There's our meeting and my contact information. We do meet the second Thursday of every month as a board, and then we have regional meetings that are held every other month, and those rotate through the communities around Southeast Colorado. Unfortunately, right now, those meetings are virtual rather than actually on-site. We used to really love getting to actually visit all the communities and get out and see all their great heritage and things like that, and hopefully we will again here next year, not sooner. But again, thanks a lot for letting me introduce our organization. I know it's new to you folks down Trinidad way. As I say, we've been around for quite a bit of time up here in the Lamar and La Junta area. But we're new to you, so I'm glad I got a chance to at least introduce us. If anybody has any questions or comments, I'll be glad to answer those.
Okay, let's go ahead and start with Mr. Williamson. Do you have any questions for the gentleman?
I do not, Phil, not at this time, thank you.
Mr. Shu, how about Mr. Shu? Do you have any questions? Mr. DeBono, do you have any questions?
No, sir, that was a nice presentation,
Okay.
sir.
Ms. Ogletree?
I attended one of those virtual meetings on the Kansas Flame rollout this summer, and I know they were looking for volunteers to get involved in different levels. Is the Colorado Tourism Office still looking for volunteers to get involved with this at all, or where do you stand?
Yeah, we'll certainly be expanding the Rector volunteers as we continue to develop the content for the page. Right now, we're gathering resources with History Colorado in regards to some of the stories we'd like to tell, the content we want to develop on the Colorado.com webpage. And certainly we will be reaching out more to local areas, and that ask will probably come through Marty, our board member down there, as we develop these stories. We'll be working on, like I said, the Santa Fe Trail will probably be a big one. So as we develop that story, we'll be looking down Trinidad way for more information on the Santa Fe Trail and Santa Fe Trail sites down in your area. Obviously, you have the Trinidad History Museum, which is operated by History Colorado and has the Santa Fe Trail Museum. So that would be a huge, it's a huge stop along the Santa Fe Trail in Colorado. So that will certainly be a part of it. And I mentioned previously the idea of images, any images that are related to the Santa Fe Trail story or the ranching and agriculture story will be used to beef up that content as we develop the website. So,
Okay, thank you so much.
Mr. Goodall, you have any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you, sir, very much. Nice presentation.
Okay. Mr. Wallner, just a couple of things from my end. You mentioned that you had some maps that you could distribute. I'm not sure if you have given anything to Marty. If not, can you maybe get us some of the maps that maybe we could float around if necessary? And the second question I had is, at some point down the road when we're able to meet in person again, do you plan on moving the meetings around to the different communities?
absolutely, yes. And I mentioned that it's actually on the slide there that we've always in the past, pre-pandemic, moved the meetings all around Southeast Colorado. I mean, I know we've got everywhere from Springfield to Eads to Kim to Crowley to obviously La Junta, Lamar. But yeah, we would definitely have Trinidad on our list right near the top. for a meeting once we get past the pandemic.
I think it'd be good if you already have a plan in place to the different meetings, if that, when they do start to come around again, to see, who would be first, second, third, fourth. Not necessarily, we can't put a date to it, but it'd be nice to know which communities are going to be hosting the meetings. So that would be nice to know.
Yeah, I'd be happy to share that with you. We have sort of in the past have kind of developed each year a rotational schedule of where we're going to have each meeting during the year. So as soon as we develop that, we'll make sure you have that information.
Okay.
And Marty, I'm not sure if Marty has the Canyons and Plains tariff maps at the Welcome Center. I will hope she does. If she doesn't, we can certainly get her a whole bunch of them.
Okay. Has anyone on council come up with any other questions they would like to ask? If not, let's go ahead and move on to item number 2. Thank you, Mr. Wallner, for your presentation, and looking forward to seeing you in the near future.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time, and we look forward to working with you and having the support of Trinidad as we move forward.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Okay, on to item 2, Michelle Gardner with the Colorado Neighborhood Coalition on redistricting. Michelle, go ahead and take it from here, please.
Can I share my screen?
Sure.
Not available yet, sorry. There we go. Oh, it doesn't like me today. Look at that. Technology problems.
You're good.
Thank you. Well, I'm pretty fond of him. I'm actually in my son's bedroom right now. Sorry, my computer decided not to let me do anything. So, give me just a second, and I will figure it out. It may be time for a new computer. Okay, let's try this again. Guys, what is wrong? I'm so sorry. Okay, maybe. Okay, that's better. There we go. Alright, are my kids gone and we can call our neighborhood coalition come? Yep. Perfect. Alright, so my name is Michelle Gardner. I am here this evening with the Colorado Neighborhood Coalition. We are working on the legislative and congressional redistricting that is happening this year in Colorado because it's a census year. So here I am. I graduated from Rocky Ford High School, so I currently live in Honda, just down the road. I attended school at CSU for my undergrad and GC for my master's, and then the main part of this is how I got involved with Colorado Neighborhood Coalition. I have always been a small town girl at heart. I am not somebody who wants to live in city. I love everything that small towns have to offer, and this is something that is good for all of our small towns. In 2017, I actually decided to run for county commissioner in a territory, and I lost in the primary, but it gave me a really good view of what I wanted my future to look like and what I wanted to devote my time to now that the kids that you saw on the screen are getting a little bit older. I go through the slideshow, I want you all to keep one thing in mind though. This is a nonpartisan push that is good for all of Southern Colorado. It is not a Republican thing. It is not a Democrat thing. It is not an unaffiliated thing. It is literally something that is just good for Colorado. So redistricting matters. In 2011, both parties were guilty of gerrymandering the legislative and congressional districts across the nation. We're going to kind of go through some of these fast. The current maps were put in place in 2011, and even though Republicans have won the majority of the two-party vote cast for the state house for the 4 elections, but they never won a majority in the chamber. We attribute that to the fact that the maps were not drawn fairly when our districts were made. So as Colorado's prepared to do something different, this is all about gerrymandering. Is everybody familiar with gerrymandering? You are all in politics, so I'm going to kind of guess you know that.
Drawing district boundaries.
Drawing district boundaries.
To give one party.
There you go. Alright. We're going to skip that one. So this is the exciting part. In 2018, the voters passed Amendment 5 to the Colorado Constitution, and these changed the way that everything is going to be. So they're going to have politically balanced and independent commissions that will oversee the map development and approval. The passage of any map requires a supermajority of 8 commissioners, including no fewer, and 2 of the independent members. The maps will be drawn by non-partisan professional staff instead of party leaders. That is vastly important, something to remember. The maps must utilize neutral criteria in developing any map, minimizing splits to the city. We're going to circle back to that in the end, but I want you to keep that in mind. Minimizing splits to cities and areas that have things in common. The commission is subject to transparency laws. They'll have open meetings, open records. And the judge's role in developing and changing maps is significantly reduced with the passing of that. And Colorado Neighborhoods Coalition is to promote the development of fair maps that are compliant with the state constitution and a much higher number of districts than one. We want to create fair maps. This is basically that's what the rest of this is about. Is that we want maps that are fair. Mayor Rico and I have had a conversation that there are some things with your districts in your county that don't necessarily make sense. And at the end, I'll circle back and talk about something later on in the process that you guys can get involved with. The process must start now, though. Applications for the new commission are due by November 10th of 2020. I'm just going to touch on this briefly. Each commission has the 4 Republicans, 4 Democrats, and 4 unaffiliated voters. They're hoping, I put the projection, this says 67,000, I put the projection of 5,000 to 6,000 applicants, and from that it will be broken down. The first piece is a true lottery, which is why we are pushing really hard to get people from rural Colorado to apply. With any lottery, the more people we have applied, the better of a chance we have of getting rural Coloradans on the commission. So in 2021, all the congressional and House districts will have to be fundamentally adjusted to equalize the population, and this just gives you an idea of the numbers. And then the other interesting thing is that Colorado will be adding a congressional district, which will bring our state total up to 8 instead of 7.
I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm sorry, Michelle, what does equalize the proportions? Can you go back to that, the last slide?
Absolutely. So, all of the districts that are drawn, they are all based upon population, which is why, some Senate districts are humongous. Senate District 35, which will actually sit in as a very large Senate district. It's because in order for it to be a district, it has to meet the population requirement, and that's set forth by the Constitution. Does that make sense? You can't have one district that has a population. I'm just going to use 6 members. You can't have Senate District 2 that has a population of 30,000 and Senate District 5 that has a population of 130,000. Those Senate districts don't have that equal distribution of the population.
Okay, and so that more land area might be in them so that they can make up for the population.
Yes, which is why you see smaller districts in the metro area, because it is all based off of population, and you see larger districts in rural Colorado.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Michelle, one other thing that it was in one of the slides there that I brought up when we had our meeting is for anyone who wants to put in an application, there are no requirements of any kind of levels of education that they will be looking at, so you might want to touch on that.
Okay, I can talk about that very quickly. The biggest requirement is that you have to be a registered voter. You have to be associated with your party for the last 5 years. You have to have voted in the 2016 and the 2018 election. Thing 3. This is not necessarily something that a lot of you can apply for, but it is something that we would like you to encourage your friends and others who want to be involved to apply for. You cannot be an elected official and sit on the commissions. That piece is slightly unfortunate because I know from working with elected officials that they value, they understand that we need people to step forward. But this process really gives it to the people that are not elected officials that can get along, work with both sides of the aisle, people that are of how important our drawing our districts.
Michelle, is there anything in there that says, it just came to mind of a recent elected official that has left office, can they apply?
Believe it or not, I had a county commissioner that's retired call me and ask me that question today, and I have not had a chance to research it, but I will research that and get back to you. I know that there is a piece that says if you ran legislatively, that you can't then apply to sit, like if you were to run for the legislature in 2018, you can't apply to sit on that commission. If you lost, you can't apply to sit on that commission. But you could apply to sit on the congressional one. So I will be looking that up and I will follow up in an email.
Okay.
Everybody's on the same page today in my world. Just making a note, sorry. Critical redistricting relies upon, we're going to maximize the number of fair-minded applicants who are committed to adhering to the state's constitution. And a random selection process, I talked about this a little bit earlier, is the number of applicants, it's widowed to 300 Republicans, 300 Democrats, and 450 unaffiliated voters. And that selection piece is truly random and truly flawed. So if citizens do not apply for it and participate in this commission, then it will be easy for it to get hijacked, and that's not what we want to happen. We want that whole Colorado. This is our website, Colorado Neighborhood Coalition. I have dropped some materials off with Mayor Rico. You guys are welcome to grab some of those from him. He has cards that talk about the redistricting on the front, and then my information is on the back. You're welcome to go to our website, coloradoneighborhoodcoalition.org. That will put you on our radar so that you can get the information that we send out to everybody. So, are there any more questions? You guys are great on.
I just wanted to say that I'll bring some of that literature that you gave me last week to our meeting, next meeting, and distribute them. So because we'll all be together. So okay.
I had a question. Yes, can we go ahead?
Go ahead.
Why are there 450 unaffiliated and 300 Republican, 300 Democrat? Why is that proportion?
The reason it's proportioned that way is that after that initial lottery, then your legislative leaders get to choose a list. So let me start over. We start out with a lottery. We go 300, 300, 450. From there, select 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and 2 unaffiliated voters. So that gives us a total of 6 people that are sitting on each commission right now. From there, the Republican and the Democrats, the leaders in the legislature, get to look at their lists that are associated with their party and pick 10 people that they think would be quality commissioners. For the 450, and this is the reason for the difference in the numbers, that 450 piece, after we have 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats, and then they take that 450 unaffiliated voters and they randomly draw 2 more. So that's why there's more unaffiliated than there are Republicans.
And how many commissions will there be?
There will be 2, so a total of 24 people that will be served.
And what's the difference between the 2 commissions?
One will do your congressional districts, so federal congressional districts, and then the other one will do your legislative, which is state districts.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions, Mr. Williamson?
I have none at this point, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Shu, do you have any questions?
No, I don't at this time, thank you.
Mr. DeBono?
Michelle, how does an accurate census, what kind of impact does that have on redistricting?
Huge. It has a huge impact on redistricting. In fact, I have encouraged everybody everywhere I've gone to make sure that you do as much as you can to get your census numbers. If we don't have accurate census numbers, then the whole process of equalizing the number of people in each district isn't accurate. So if your town has more people in it that have completed the census, it's very bad for your town. You guys all know that because you understand how the funding works. Not everybody understands that the census isn't meant to track anybody. It's not meant to do anything other than show us where the people are so that they can be represented properly.
That was good question. Thank you very much. Mr. Goodall?
You've asked me to add twice if you can believe that. Once here and once on the weekend.
Yeah. Mr. Goodall?
After attending meetings up in Denver earlier this year and looking at the numbers and statistics on the small percentages of reporting on the census, isn't that going to have a major impact on that, or what has been done to offset or try to get better numbers in? Because with the COVID and everything else, I mean, it's looking like census numbers are going to be way down. Does it not set this up to fail?
I think it sets it up to fail. I know that census reporters have been out. I have family that just moved to Colorado Springs and they've had census reporters at their house 3 times. So even with COVID, I know that they're trying to maintain their social distancing, they're trying to wear their masks, and they're trying to get out there and encourage people to complete their census. And to be completely honest with you, the census was so easy to complete this year and it was so fast. I did mine online. I think it took me less than 3 minutes. So it's kind of like this process. If you have to complete your census, you need to do that. And I'm sure you all have. But if your neighbors and your friends haven't, it's something that we can't not talk about. We have to talk about it. The government's not using it for crazy things. We need everybody to complete the census.
Right. Well, with the business I have at the motel, an RV park, and mobile home parks, I've had the census people in here 7, 8 times. And so I see the problem that's arose is they're trying to go to RV parks with travelers to get census in, and it's the system is not, it's not going to work. And so that's why I'm concerned with getting the numbers in, just because the problems that I'm seeing with the businesses I have. That's my only concern with this.
I think the important thing to remember is that regardless of COVID or not, census reporting numbers are always extremely low, which is really sad. I live
I don't remember if you were at the meeting at the Capitol. We were up there. There was one community that had 75% non-reporting. And I
Right.
think Los Animas County was at 40%, so that would put us at 60% reporting. I would love to see those numbers go up. I just don't know how in these large communities and rural areas, how that's to be accomplished. I don't know. I see problems with the census for sure.
Rusty, I don't know if you remember. Here a while back, it was in the newspaper. I thought that they had reported the percentage of reporting, but I don't remember what it was.
That's all I have. Thank you, ma'am. Very good.
Mr. Valentine, there might be a question that you might have.
Not really, Mayor, not this time.
Okay. We'll even ask Audra. Audra, do you have any questions for Michelle concerning this?
No, I don't have any. After you explained it and then Michelle followed up, I think you have a pretty good understanding of what the process is.
Okay. Mr. Downs, do you have any questions?
I don't, Mayor, thank you. I agree with Audra. It's been very informative and quite fascinating, but I don't have any questions. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Michelle, thank you for your time, and this is something that all council wanted to hear from you, so thank you for the presentation.
And I will also let you guys know I'm working on an op-ed piece that will be sent to your newspaper, so that will give you another opportunity. The more that we all work together in our small towns to get the word out, the better this process will be for whole Colorado. So thank you all for the time. I really appreciate it.
Just to let everyone know, I had called Garrett Watson from the newspaper last Thursday, I believe, and I don't know sure if he's on, but I had asked him to make sure that he listened in tonight so that he could hear directly from Michelle, so I don't know if he's on or not, so I don't, hopefully he is, so that he can do some reporting on this. Okay, thank you, Michelle.
And I will get a hold of him myself so I can send him.
Okay. All right, thanks again. Okay, let's go on to item 3, review of space to create commons oversight business development plan. Who's going to report on that, Mr. Valentine? Is it going to be Wally or is it going to be Ms. Lusler?
Wally's online and he's going to report on this matter.
Okay. Wally?
All right. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Is Miss Lusler also going to comment as well, or just you?
Yes, I believe both Marilyn and Jeff Peterson are on
Yes.
To speak to any questions you all may have. But I'm happy to kind of get things rolling. And honestly, this probably should have been 2 agenda items, but because we have 2 separate things here. One is the business plan that I can speak a little bit to, but I think Jeff Peterson can add a lot to that. And then the other one is the business development plan. And basically, yeah, they're 2 separate things. The business plan is for the entire space to create common space, where the business plan is an option that would be contained within that space and within that business plan. Basically, from our work with ArtSpace, we have, well, and actually, yeah, I would definitely like Jeff to speak more on the business plan, but with ArtSpace, we have been working with them for a while, and they, at the beginning of this project, determined to us what the cost the city would need to pull from the building in order to cover the cost of maintenance, and everything, in utilities, insurance, everything involved with owning a building like this. And so we took all of those numbers that would be determined each month needed to pay for this space, took the amount of available square footage within that facility, and divided it by that amount that we needed to make to pay for it. And we basically determined that in order for us to manage this space, not at a cost to the city, we need to rent out the available retail commercial space within that building for roughly $9.20 per square foot. So then from there, we took a what we're proposing here is a business incubator program that basically allows new businesses that are trying to start up in Trinidad to move into the space at a very low cost, basically just a security deposit to get in. And for the first 3 months, they're not paying rent. Every 3 months it goes up until at 2 years they are paying that 100% needed to cover the cost of this building of $9.20 per square foot. And basically this was originally, we started working on this as a concept to possibly take the place of our previous business assistance, rental assistance program that we did as a city to help businesses cover some of the costs for leasing a building to manage their business out of. And the biggest complaint that we had received, both from city staff and I believe also through council when we discussed that a few months ago, was that that plan would basically help pay 50% of the rent for these businesses for up to 18 months, but then after that, they would have to pay full rent. And so some of these businesses, they were getting half their rent paid the entire time, without that progressive scale back, where they were really able to prepare themselves to pay full rent, and they were kind of shocked, and a lot of businesses weren't able to meet that need. So this was created as a way that they progressively start paying more rent until they reach that 100% level that'd be expected of them. But then it also keeps growing after that 2-year period, and that is for 2 reasons. That if a business decides to stay in this space and continue as a part of this business development program, they're paying a little bit higher rent to help offset the cost of offering this subsidy to businesses that are just entering it and getting subsidized costs for it. But the other point of it is we want to keep raising the rent to encourage these businesses to go out and fill other available commercial retail spaces within the city. Because we don't think that we should be undercutting other businesses and keeping entrepreneurs, business owners from moving into those spaces because they get a great deal in this awesome space owned by the city. And by having them move out into other retail, not only are we helping our local property owners fill their spaces with businesses that have proven that they can be successful and operate here in Trinidad, but we also open up those spaces within the facility for new businesses to open, to get into this business development program and try it out.
Hey, Wally, Wally,
I will note about
Wally, I have a question along these lines. Something I didn't read anything about this, but it might be something that we could look at. People who participate and go in and accept that reduced rent for that period of time. We have that CU organization or the CU person that comes down to help people that are planning new businesses to help them out. Would it be a good idea because it's free, to help them work forward so that they could be productive and successful? I think that would be something that maybe you might want to consider.
Yes, and that is something we've discussed and something that is a big benefit of this program is we do work with CU for their program Demystifying Entrepreneurship. We also work with the SBDC for programs when they bring them to town. And we basically want to make it available for all the businesses that are part of this business development program to take advantage of those programs and encourage them to take that. Another piece of this is in order to get into the space, they have to get their business plan approved by the SBDC. So it's not just somebody decides they want to do a business and haven't presented a clear plan to us. They have to create that plan, get it approved, and then move into these spaces. The one thing I really want to note on this, though, is you do not have to be a part of this business development program to rent a space out in the Space to Create building. We believe that businesses should be able to just move in there, pay full price, not be subsidized, and not have to have their rent raised over time. And also, another point of this is if you're in this program, we really do want to push you out of this building by the time your term is over, because we do want to be filling our downtown, Main Street, Commercial Street, other central commercial areas of town with successful business options, not just put them all in this building. But if a business does come, want to pay full rent, really just wants to be in this location, they can come and pay that $9.20 per square foot rate to be in this building. So I just wanted to note that you don't have to be in this program in order to move into the space.
Are you making them aware that that is the long-term solution for them to be able to move out?
Yes, we are making that very clear. That basically, if they are going to be a part of this program, they have to plan on being out of this facility by 5 years of being into it.
Okay.
Yo, do I have a question?
And honestly, yes,
Go ahead.
I'm happy to answer.
Yeah. You were talking about this $9.20. How many businesses do we need to have in there to accomplish this?
It really depends on the square footage footprint that they are taking. But basically, we would need to fill the Aiello building, the retail space next to that, and the back garage.
You're talking about a lot of spaces and a lot of businesses that we'd have to bring in there.
Yes. Well, depending on the size of those businesses. Like, for example, we actually have been discussing with one business possibly coming in and taking over the entire Aiello and that retail space right there, and that would leave us only with the back garage. But that's actually a business more interested in doing the non-incubation program, because if they move into the space, they would want to permanently be in the space. But yeah, we are looking to help a lot of businesses, but we are thinking that this will be a good way to help them in a way that doesn't add more cost to the city, like the rental assistance program did, and hopefully will be designed in a way to really get them more prepared to be on their own when that time comes. Another thing about this program, the way that it's currently written, is that really only have to give us a month's notice, a full month's notice, in order to vacate the space. Because if we have a business that isn't doing well, we want them to be able to get out of that contract and put in a business that can be successful in that space.
Well, I'm just kind of curious, so when it costs the city a lot of money to do this, if we build all this stuff and we have no businesses in there to continue that, that's going to be, I think, a big issue.
It is, and that's part of the reason we did this, is we are thinking that this will help us build the space and really get it activated and businesses in there sooner than having to charge them the same amount that any other business on Main Street would do. But yes, I do agree that if we do not get these spaces filled, it will end up costing the city some money. But I will also note on that we've been having a lot of interest in businesses trying to get in. In fact, I got 2 messages today of people asking what's going on with specifically that center garage space, because they think it looks beautiful at night and they think there's something appealing about it. And we'd love to start getting people in there. We're just not quite ready for that yet.
Wally?
Yes.
Are the businesses going to be held to a contractual agreement over a period of time?
Like I said, they will be in this agreement that dictates what their rent rates will be for the next 5 years of being in that space, with it growing every 3 months for the first 4 years. And then for that last year, they are at that high premium dollar amount. And, but like I said, I actually want this to not trap people in this space. I would much rather have it that businesses can, if they have a model that isn't working and they're just losing money and really caught in a bad situation, I would much rather work in a way that's equitable to those people to be able to move out of the space easily, so that we can get another business operator in there to try and do it and meet success with that.
Okay.
And the biggest thing with this is it's designed to be a business incubator. So a place where people can try their business models and see if they'll work in a town like Trinidad, and support them to help them get that started off. But really the idea of an incubator is to help them grow and then put them out there on their own.
Hey, Wally, any? Go ahead. Do you still have some more? before
No,
you?
I was going to say that's most of what I have to say about the business incubator. We can also speak on the business plan, but as I said, Jeff Peterson kind of took the lead on that one, and but I think some of the information involved in that would also be informative to this entire project, because it's definitely all.
Well, let's see if any.
Happy to answer any questions.
Let's see if council has any questions. Mr. Williamson.
I just had one question. How and who makes the decision between selection of a business, say we have possibility of a business that's in the incubator model versus a business that's not in the incubation model? Who and how is that made?
That is the business owner. The business owner decides, like basically they can approach us saying they want to come into this facility, and then if they do want to do the business incubation program, they have to meet those demands that are included in that handout that was given to you all last week.
I guess
where they have to
make
get.
myself clear, Wally, who makes the decision of choosing between those two businesses? And how? Say if they're both competing in the same space.
I do not really imagine multiple people competing against each other. I mean, it's more of a first come, first served basis. And businesses do not have to be a part of the business incubation program. If they were to decide to, then they have to go through this criteria to see if they can get in there. But
Okay,
basically, we're just talking to the.
If one came along that's non-incubation, we would pay that.
Yes, if they could pay the rent and met all of the demands of, because there are types of businesses that are not allowed in this space.
Right.
Businesses that make, and so those businesses obviously could not move in here. But if they decide to sign a multi-year lease with us, then they are welcome to fill that space before anyone in the business program.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Ogletree?
I want to follow up on Mr. Williamson's question. So, if a problem develops, say with one of the businesses, are you the one who's going to deal with whatever that problem is, or who would be doing it?
Yes, until you all let me hire on a space to create manager. It would be me, but I would love to continue building up additional support over time, so that I am not juggling so many different things. But until that time comes, then yes, it would be me.
Okay. And I think one of the real significant differences between this program and the last one that we tried is that it requires a business plan. And I think some of the reasons that program wasn't as successful as the city had hoped is that people came in with really unrealistic expectations of what they were going to be able to do. And with the SBDC direction, I think that will be less of an issue with people trying this out. They'll have a very clear idea of what it's going to cost them, what they're going to need to show in terms of profit within the first year or so so that they know that it's a going concern. I do think it will be helpful to hear from Jeff Peterson about the overall plan for the entire Space to Create Commons. This is kind of one aspect of it because it all fits together, as I understand it.
Mr. DeBono, do you have any questions?
No, just that one I asked earlier. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions, Mr. Shu?
Yeah, and I'm just gonna ask, Wally, on that, you had talked about some firm that wanted to come in there and take over a pretty good section of that, just leave it deal. How's that gonna affect the other part of the your program with the incubating service and stuff?
It would, honestly, for me, it'd be preferable, because I would much rather us have one strong anchor tenant in that space that is locked in, that has the dependability of we know that they're going to be there for a long period of time, really helping us shape that space and create a good reputation for it. And I'm not in a place right now where I can say what that business is, but it is a locally known business that I think would be very good at helping us do that. But I think that it would be fine, because really the business incubation model is more modeled towards the back garage space with small retail spaces designed for the tenants within there. It's just we're also doing it with larger spaces in the hopes that they can help us fill this space. But like I said, we have a tenant I'd love to get in there that they would prefer not to do the business incubation model and try to make this their permanent home. And I for one think they'd be the type of business that'd be ideal for that.
Mr. Goodall?
I have nothing at this time, Mayor.
Okay. Mike, are you pretty well clear on all this?
Yes, I am, Mayor. And just to maybe help some of the questions, there is an applicant score sheet that staff will be able to vet through. If we have a couple of businesses, we're going to run through that score sheet based on sales tax, employees, if it's a new business, if it's a relocating business, if it's a complementary business, and that's all in the package. So we're hoping, I guess it'd be a good problem to have a bunch of businesses want to get in there. So we're going to have some criteria on how to select them. So that is in the plan, and hopefully it works out.
Okay. Last from the legal side, do you have any questions?
I don't, Mayor. As I was looking at this agreement, and it's not really a legal document, but I'm sure there are going to be many legal issues with respect to this. I don't foresee or have any legal issues occurring as I review this. But thank you.
Okay. I have some questions, but I think they might be more for Jeff on the other side. So let's go ahead and get, I guess, Jeff and Marilyn or whoever's going to present on the other section. Eli, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask Wally, what kind of credit score is needed? I mean, everybody needs a credit score for a business. What if they have a bad credit score? Are you going to opt to maybe be a little bit apprehensive in giving them a lease?
That is something that we need to put some consideration, but that is not a part of the current criteria. It really is based on how much sales tax revenue they project to make, and things such as that. But it's something that we can discuss for sure.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, did you want to turn it over to Jeff now?
I do. I think the one last thing that I'd like to add, adding on to what Aaron Ogletree said about what will set this apart from the other rental assistance program that we had before, it also ties in what the mayor said earlier, that we are going to have active entrepreneurial support systems that are helping those businesses succeed, helping them learn how to be better entrepreneurs, and also there's just a sense of excitement tied to this building and to this partnership with the state that I think just the building alone is going to help drive traffic into some of these business spaces, and hoping that will help some of these people more than just filling another retail space within town. And then with that note, I'll pass it on to Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Wally. I think that's a good transition point because you know, the vision for this building, really from the onset, however many years ago we started this, was for this project to be a really exciting, even a landmark facility for the city, and that it is a tourist attraction, that it functions as a gathering place for community events, and that it is a really dynamic environment, that it offers a diverse mix of businesses, of events, and that it evolves over time. And so one of our goals, especially as we worked with Wally on the business development plan, was to have that type of kind of ever-changing diversity of plans. And so that's sort of the basis of it, and I think part of the reason we're excited about the mix of elements, mix of things the Creative District brings with the management of the co-working space, and the management of sort of the event space. Sorry, the Amtrak train is about to roll by my house, which is about 20 feet away, so we'll, yeah, Amtrak. We'll just do, yeah, that sort of sets the table for the decisions, you know. Some of the priorities of how we designed this business plan were born out of the early work of sort of the community surveys and the market surveys, where we wanted to have, you know, community functions, but we couldn't, like, let's say, we couldn't turn the big garage into a big event center that didn't generate income. We knew there were some, you know, we all felt that this ultimately needs to generate income. It is an economic development project more than it is like a community development project. So we need to make it very business focused. And I think we've come to a nice blend of business focus but with a nice mix of cultural events that will in fact help the businesses make the space very attractive and bring people into the space. Maybe I'll leave it there for some questions before we launch into other things. Phil, I know you had some questions right off the top, but
yeah, I'll ask some questions at the after everybody else has had an opportunity. I'll start with Mr. Williamson.
I have no questions at this point. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Ms. Ogletree.
No, right now, thanks.
Okay, Mr. DeBono.
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Shu.
No, not at this time.
Mr. Goodall.
Nothing right now.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and get into this then with you. One thing that as I read through this, it was interesting to see, good to see that the SBDC is going to have available space in there for when they come down. At some point, I've been talking for some time now, if we can get an SBDC coordinator permanent down here, it would be nice. So that would be something, for maybe you to, pound the pavement on down the road to see if we can get someone in here permanently. The other thing is. What's that?
Let me just jump in and comment on that right away. So Wally and I have been working closely with Nikki Lewis. I always mispronounce her last name. So she heads the SBDC for our region, and she has recently told me that she has found local boots on the ground SBDC representation. And I'm not sure if she was ready to announce who that was, but they will be officed. They won't be officed in our space, but they will be officed close by. And she promises to work closely with us, and she has a great relationship with Dr. Epper. So a great kind of partnership with TFJC, SBDC, and this effort at the Commons.
Good. Along them same lines, a couple of years ago, actually, I started talking to some of the other entities about, coming together, Main Street program, the tourism board, the Chamber of Commerce, kind of a one-stop shop, and sounds like that's kind of where you're heading. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a flavor to that. We're in fact working with kind of a coalition of the Trinidad groups, the Trinidad Main Street, Trinidad Chamber, and Raton Main Street on sort of a regional effort that has some business incubation and business development aspects. So it's very much part of the discussions to include everybody in this development.
One of the things that I know that Wally had talked about, and it's in the business plan, about hiring a manager. If by chance that the chamber goes in there, the lady that manages the chamber, I'm not sure if she would be an ideal person to take on the management. So that's just something that I would just throw out there. A couple other things that I had is one thing that I've always envisioned, and I don't know if we can get anybody interested in there, and I mentioned this to Marilyn and a couple of other people. when everything was okay and we were able to travel and stuff, I would go to Colorado Springs, and in the Citadel Mall, I think it's the Citadel Mall, there's a place where it's a place where students or children can go and do arts and crafts, and I have always envisioned it'd be kind of cool if we can get someone in there to operate something like, and call it like, a children's space to create area, where they can go after school and do, they can do their homework. Could offer Wi-Fi for any of the, especially now that things are going on with the way things are. So it would be something to maybe look into. That could be a possibility. The other thing that I go to, meetings up north, and one of the things that I find is, we're going to give you backtrack here a little bit. Back in 2010, we had the Rural Philanthropy Days here in Trinidad. One of the biggest issues that we had was trying to find a larger venue to host these, where we can get 200-300 people in there. If there's somehow that one of these spaces can be open for something like that to attract maybe larger organizations to come in and have their meetings. One of the requirements that I think that would be nice to have, especially in this day, and I think moving forward, is that a lot of people are getting used to Zoom meetings or go-to meetings, and we could offer those, if we could offer something like that, and a coordinator or the manager to coordinate these type of meetings for people where the Zoom is available. The other thing that's really important that I find in some of these meetings that I go to is that they have either overhead speakers where you can talk into, or on the counters, or they have a spider that in a large table. Those are type of things that I think you will need if you're going to have meetings such as this, so that it would be conducive for a meeting like that. So I just thought I'd give you something that I see when I go to some of these meetings at the state level. Because as we know, these Zoom meetings, I think, are not going to go away. I think they're going to stay with us, but it allows more people to participate, and offering that, I think, would be something in our hat that we could utilize if we market it right. The other thing I would like to know is what type of marketing are you guys doing for the Commons area?
Yes. So.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead, Roy.
I was going to say that we began working with the Creative District to come up with our marketing plan. However, we're not putting it out there quite yet because we're not ready to fill this space yet, and we're already having multiple people calling us a week asking about leasing this space, which is why we're having this discussion now, because this is how we need to develop our plan of how we are going to start marketing it and putting it out there, so that when they do call us and ask what is the leasing plan for this space, we will actually be able to tell them that, because right now we need to be approved by you all to do that. So we are developing that marketing plan, but at the same time we're also kind of waiting for the space to be completed and for us to know what you all approve of us doing for filling that space.
Okay, the phase one of the Commons area, I know it's supposed to be going out to bid, if I'm correct. Is that right? And when do you expect that to go out?
And hopefully very soon. I actually checked with the architects Thursday of last week, and they said they are still finalizing those bidding documents, and they were hoping to have them to me this week, but I will note that they did tell me that 3 weeks ago. So I'll keep poking them, but at this point we're just waiting for those architects to get those plans to us so that we can put them out to bid.
Well, the thing about it is it'd be nice to be able to get this out there and get working on it, because one thing we don't want to see is people being discouraged that it's not in process. And the longer it takes, the more apt to that people will start falling off and saying, well, I don't know if they're going to be ready by the time I'm ready, and that type of issue that could create other issues for us.
I absolutely agree. And
okay.
we're really trying to get it through, but it's yeah, we're waiting to get those finished documents.
Yeah. I think if you put it, that way maybe to the architects and tell them this has to get done. I think just sometimes pushing needs to happen in order to move that needle some.
I'll reach out to him tomorrow and say the mayor's putting some pressure on me, you guys. Come on.
Okay, that's all right. Okay, I think you had some other stuff you want to talk about?
And then, just real quick on the marketing piece. So, this business plan is certainly a very kind of quick and laborious thing to get through reading-wise. So, we definitely have been talking about a communications plan, to the public, newspaper articles, press releases, so forth, to keep the public up to date, and then producing some more friendly, one-pager pamphlet type things that capture the essence of the business plan, but put it in a more friendly language to help communicate what's going on and help market the space.
Yeah, I agree. I think if we can get something out to the local newspaper so that they know what is happening with that commons area, this way it keeps them informed.
So that's all I have, unless there's some other questions to answer about the
Business plan? Mr. Williamson, do you have anything? No? Ms. Ogletree, do you have anything?
Yeah, Jeff, can you explain to us how the creative district is going to function within this commons area?
Right. Yeah, I think we've got Marilyn here to help, so I think that's an exciting part of this, is having the creative district embedded in this as sort of the creative economic development partner, because this is ultimately a lot about creative economy, the space to create above us. So I know Marilyn has a lot of fun plans that they're working on at the creative district, so I'll go ahead and turn it over to Marilyn to talk about some of the plans they have as they integrate into the space.
You bet, thank you. Yeah, it really is very exciting, and I think this collaboration between all of these various groups and entities is probably the most fulfilling of all of this. As you well know, we started with community feasibility studies and meetings and market surveys. Then there was a community-based advisory panel, and now we have a oversight board. So the city has done a great job in setting all of this up for success in that underground part. That's not the sexy, shiny, sparkly part of it, but it all has to be done as a basis for moving forward. Jeff and Wally and I and Mike have been meeting numerous times over the last however long with HHL architects for design and planning and such, and that's tightened up greatly as we came into some of these decisions on what the space would entail. The main part that the creative district will be programming and managing will be that front portion of the commons in front of the garage area. So within that, we'll have two workshop areas or maker spaces, call them what you will. Those will have sinks and can be used for art workshops, for various training and educational programming and such as that. We also will have a large conference room that can be rented out by community members or utilized in numerous ways by those occupying the space. I'm really excited about the collaboration also with SBDC and TSJC. We've met with the college a couple of times regarding their providing educational background and abilities for us to hold classes and educational programs within the commons. They would like to have more Main Street visibility, and so we can work with them to provide that part of it, and they provide the educational part. We've been working with Arts for Colorado and also Attorneys for the Arts that Aaron helped to put together as far as training, offering business training and education for artists and other creative entrepreneurs. So this ties in again with that incubator for new business entrepreneurs and such, as well as local artists and other creatives. Phil, I love your comment about the area for Kids Create, and that's one of the things that we've certainly talked about regarding these 2 workshop areas that we'll have in the Commons location. I had not thought of, and I love this idea too, about having the availability for groups to come in for Zoom meetings and such, webinars. We've been working with CU Boulder and their community outreach programming, and we've done a number of programs, at least 8 or 10 different programs with CU Boulder, and that doesn't include even the Leeds Business School for that entrepreneurial training that they brought down. So that's something that certainly would help increase the participation in that. A couple of things that we're working on with our creative district now as we update our website. We have one thing that opens tomorrow actually, and it's titled Survival is Insufficient. So we've put out a call for artists and other creative people to send us examples of what they've been creating during this COVID epidemic time frame. So it could be something like a woman who is crocheting doilies, and her short story along with that might be, my grandma crocheted doilies during World War II, or my mother crocheted doilies during the Depression, and now I'm crocheting doilies during COVID. It can be artwork that is representative of an artist's feelings or interpretation of what's going on right now. Some of them could be emotional, some of them are just work that's being created during this time frame. So we're really excited about that. We've got children who have submitted little stories. One was, I think, COVID-19 Sucks is the title for an 8-year-old that was submitted. So I'm really excited about that, and it doesn't open simply for artists and those who normally would be considered artists, but it's everyone who lives in our area. We've included Southern Colorado, Northern New Mexico, so we're hoping for wonderful response. Again, what are you doing to make it through this time frame? The second thing that we're working on that we'll follow up after this is something we're calling the Uncommon Shop, and that will be an online sales opportunity for artists and other creatives as we finish up the salon idea. And then that could have a physical presence within the Commons as well once we're open there, where we can highlight local artists and artisans and sell goods that are created in Trinidad and in our region. So that's another possibility that we're strongly looking at for the Commons. It's just so exciting to have this space available that can accommodate entrepreneurial business ideas and can accommodate those people who currently work at home but would like to have a desk on occasion, who can then visit and collaborate with other like-minded entrepreneurs, as it were. You know, you always pick up better information when you're working with a group of peers than you do sitting alone in your studio or your little office space or your dining room table at home. So I think that's really important. So basically, thank you to the city and the support the city has offered us and city council. None of this could have happened or would be possible without your absolute support on this and your great ideas that are tossed in and go into that mix of what takes place. So any questions on what Creative District will be doing?
Well, let's go ahead and get the questions. Mr. Williamson, anything?
No questions at this time, Phil. Thank you.
Ms. Ogletree?
No, not right now. Thank you.
Mr. DeBono?
No, thank you, Marilyn.
Mr. Shu?
No, thanks, not at this time.
Mr. Goodall?
I have nothing. Thanks, Marilyn.
Marilyn, something, and hopefully you probably already know about this, you and Jeff, that we're going to be hopefully moving that art piece that's at the roundabout currently over to where the entrance is of that's going to be an attractive piece to, you know, to add to the entrance portion. Yeah. Something else.
I have contacted Art Space. Matt Meyer from HHL did send us a drawing interpretation of what the front of the building would look like with that John Wilbar piece installed. So I have that, and I will send that off. I think Wally might have that, and Jeff might have that, but we'll make certain that you all see that. I greatly appreciate that. I think it's a perfect spot for it, and so far everybody's in favor of it. There was one other thing too that now I forgot, because my mind doesn't hold thoughts.
I'm looking forward to seeing that rendition. The other thing that has cropped up over the last few years is, and I'm happy to hear that working with the college is something in your mind, because one of the things that we have heard is that trying to attract and to get college, students from TSJC downtown. So if there's something that we can do for TSJC students to attract them, if there's a coffee, like I said, you're working on maybe trying to get a coffee shop for them, I don't know if it's a soda shop, I'm not really sure what their needs are, but that would be something maybe to go and ask the TSJC student body to see what they would like to have access to that they are not getting right now.
Absolutely, and we're also investigating inviting a TSJ student or even a high school student, a young person, as it were, to either join our board as a non-voting member, or creating a committee of younger people who can help us with the plans moving forward and help to guide decisions that are made about the commons. So very good point.
I think that's a good idea to try to get, we need to try to get some younger people involved in some of this stuff. It'd be good to see. Mr. Valentine, do you have any questions?
I do not, Mayor. It's all exciting.
Okay. From the legal side, anything, Mr. Downs?
Nothing illegal that I detect, Mayor. All looks legal to me.
Okay.
Illegal? Did you say gambling?
That's right. That's right.
Be careful. Be careful. Rusty, be careful what you say, because it'll be in the paper tomorrow. You never know. Anyhow.
Mayor?
Yes.
Excuse me, I have a question for Mr. Downs. What's the next step for this business plan? It sounds like it needs to be approved so they can act on it. Is this going to come before council in the form of some kind of ordinance, or what will happen next?
I believe it is, and in fact, I would defer to Audra. And Audra, what is the plan for bringing this before council?
I don't know that it would necessarily require an ordinance, but we can look at it tomorrow after we decide.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Just they need it to be official so they can get busy with marketing.
that's a good question, Ms. Ogletree, and I think that
Very good.
if we could maybe get it out there, maybe on our first meeting in October to have something, if we can do it by then, it'd be great.
Marilyn's hands up.
Yes, Marilyn?
Thank you. And that thing that I lost a moment ago has suddenly come back. So I did want to tell you that I wrote for and received a $5,000 grant from the state for development of furniture items and other usable items for the common in our creative district offices. And the first of those was delivered this morning. So there were two 14-foot doors that were removed from the original building, and I don't know where those came from. But Hans Drug, who has done the beautiful horse sculpture that will go now into the roundabout, and also worked with Gibbs on doors and trim work and such as that within the Space to Create project, used those doors and completed two 14-foot by 20-inch tables for for us. They're beautifully finished. I sent Wally a photo today. I just found out about this, that they were delivered. And we can use them separately as buffet tables or narrow, tables, whatever, or push them together into one larger conference table. So we have our first real piece of furniture that will go into the commons. So I'm really excited about that. So I'll make sure that everyone gets a photo of that work too.
Marilyn,
Thank you all.
Marilyn, I wanted to say something is that, you have been a champion for this project from day one. And I wanted to extend my deepest congratulations for everything that you have done for this project, you and several others I know, but you've kind of been the workhorse behind this, and I want to say thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Some people say I'm the mouthy one, so,
But anyway.
Thank you, I really appreciate that, Mayor.
All right, thanks again. All right, that concludes, our discussion items for other agenda items for future work session. Council have anything that you, Mr. Williamson, anything on your mind? Ms. Ogletree?
I'm wondering when we're going to start working on our mural policy again.
You must be reading my mind, because I was going to bring that up.
I'm sorry, I was anticipating that question. That will be coming forward very soon, I promise you. I know I want to kind of begin it the next phase with work session discussions, and that's been kind of occupied by the marijuana consumption establishments. But it'll be coming before you very soon to begin talking about the next ordinances regarding your.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. DeBono?
Thank you.
No, sir, Mr. Mayor, not at this time.
Mr. Shu?
No, not at this time. I need to talk to Mike on a couple things, but I'll get with you.
Okay. Mr. Goodall?
I'd like to see us get another update on projects that are going on, LaPorta and a bunch of others, and an update on what's happening with the Santa Fe Trail project, to see if I noticed work's being done, but on some of these big projects, I'd like to get some updates on what's going on.
Okay, maybe Mike, you can give us a short report maybe next week on the project, possibly, if it doesn't take too much time. Probably would be good. Okay. Well, and Aaron Ogletree stole my thunder, so that's okay. But that's okay. I just want to make sure we're on track of bringing the mural issues forward at some point in time. Okay, that concludes our work session for tonight, and I think we'll just move into the next section of our meeting, which is a special meeting. So with that being said, the special meeting of the City Council of the City of Trinidad will now come to order. It is Monday, September the 21st, 2020. The time is now 6:34 p.m. We have one item on there. Well, before we do that, let's get a roll call, see who's here.
Here.
Goodall?
Here.
Diego? Ogletree? Here. Sue?
Here.
Williamson?
Here.
Here. Okay, we have one item for consideration. It's a resolution of the City Council of the City of Trinidad, Colorado, as co-applicant supporting Los Angeles County submission of a grant application to the Colorado Department of Local Affairs to seek funding for the Southern Colorado Planning Impact Study. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
A discussion. Mike, you want to cover that, please?
You bet. Thank you, Mayor, members of council. So we have several applications. I don't know if you're aware that DOLA usually has 3 grant rounds, but due to COVID and funding, they've consolidated the grant rounds, and the August round was moved to October 1st. So we have deadlines for the grant submissions. One of them being this application for an impact study. Not only, they're doing a study on planning for the Fisher's Peak itself, but this impact study would be city and county impacts, connectivity with the park, infrastructure improvements that are required. We want to have a good plan in place going forward. So that's what this grant application is for. The reason we kind of have a joint effort with the county, we are also going to put forth one application that ties to the State Historic Fund grant, where we wanted to match that with the DOLA grant to get the facade, the exterior tuck and pointing on the Fox done. So having two grants in place, we don't want the panel to say, okay, which one's more important. So we felt there's a good plan to move forward with the county as the applicant and us as the co-applicant. And next week we'll have a resolution for the Fox Theater to go for a DOLA grant for the exterior rehab. With this grant, we are co-applicants. We've already committed our $50,000. The plan is to have the county commit $50,000, and then the Trust for Public Lands and the Nature Conservancy, the Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and the Great Outdoors, all the other partners in the purchase of the park are also pitching in, and their share, they've already pretty much committed to $100,000. So with $200,000 of those monies, 50 from the county, 50 from the city, and $100,000 from those partners, we could go for a $400,000 planning grant. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer.
Mr. Williamson. I think you're muted. There you go.
I have no questions.
Ms. Ogletree?
No questions.
Okay, Mr. DeBono?
No, sir.
Mr. Shu?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Goodall?
So it's a matching grant. You're saying if we have 400,000 on our side, DOLA put up 400,000 to give us a total of 8?
I may have misspoken. It's 200,000, DOLA 200 for a total of 400.
Total of 4. I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this will, give us a stronger possibility of getting both of those grants. Actually, that was a recommendation from Rick Garcia, who we met with a while back. We met with him a couple of times, once, I forget, last winter, and once here just recently. And talking to Tara, that's their recommendation, is that we go for one and the county goes for it, but that one in the county, we're joint. So it gives us a stronger possibility of getting both grants. So I think that's the reason why we decided to go down this path. Any other questions come up? If not, call the vote.
Bono?
Yes.
Goodall?
Yes.
Ringo? Sorry. Ogletree?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Ringo?
Yes. Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Call the vote?
Okay. Bono?
Yes.
Goodall?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Ringo?
Yes. Thank you, and good night, good discussion, and we will see you next week.
Food the Raiders. Food the Raiders.